G'day guys, Shane here. I've come out to Mount Hope to have a look at some places to take some photos for astro photos. It's bloody raining. The weather is just crap. What do you do when the weather's crap where you are? So here, if I really want to take photos, I'm going to take bloody photos. Out here though, at Mount Hope, we've got lots of opportunity here for black and white photos. When do you take black and white photos? Why do you take black and white photos? And how do you take black and white photos? Let's get into it and have a look. Is it even important anymore to shoot black and white? If you're any sort of photographer and you belong to any sort of Facebook group, public forum, things like that, the discussion around black and white photography can get pretty bloody heated. It's kind of like a Ford and Holden thing, or in America, what would you guys say? Ford and Chevy thing, or Ford and Dodge thing, or Chevy and Dodge? I don't know. What do you guys argue about when it comes to cars? But here it's generally a Ford and Holden thing, as in this one's better and that one's better. And I would say they're both good because they both serve a purpose. They both get you from A to B. When it comes to photography, I'd say that black and white absolutely still has a place in today's photography. We don't look back at the, let's call them the legends of photography, people like Ansel Adams. He didn't have the option of colour that I know of. All the photos that I've seen of his are black and white, and they're bloody spectacular photos. There's a reason that he's referred to as a bit of a guru. So what makes a black and white photo better than a colour photo? First thing I'd say is that when the colour is distracting from the photo, that's when I would start looking at black and white photos. So that's one option that we'd look at. If you were to restrict yourself just to black and white photos and say the golden hour or the blue hour before dawn, the golden hour at sunset, if I was to say to you, you can't shoot that anymore, you've got to shoot in black and white, you're going to look at things differently. You're going to look at light differently. You're going to look at contrast differently, and you're going to get the most out of the available light that you have to make a pretty cool photo. Basically what I'm saying to you is, if you learn to shoot black and white, you're going to make yourself a better photographer. Now, a couple of other things that black and white photography will kind of force you to do. It will bring more mood into the photo. You can make a photo much more dramatic by turning it black and white, adding some more contrast to the photo. You can definitely make it more moody. You can certainly make a photo more bright and cheery by doing the opposite of that. The best thing I like about black and white photography, the best way that I personally use black and white photography, is in negative space. Negative space is where you're going to have the subject way off in a photo and nothing else in the photo, like these. The other thing about black and white photography is that it really gives you nowhere to hide. You take a bad photo, it's going to be obvious it's a bad photo. You really need to concentrate on the composition of the photo when it comes to black and white photography. And if you do all those things right, you'll take some good photos. So we're out at Mount Hope. The rain has now stopped. Still cloudy. But let's go and find some photos to take that are black and white.
Send me your songs of tomorrow. I'm dying to know it all. Stories of joy and of sorrow. I'm dying.
First thing we're going to try is some negative space photo, kind of like an abstract sort of photo with this dead tree here. When we go into the camera app, we're going to put this tree, parts of the tree, coming in from the bottom corner like that. Touch on the tree to focus, take the photo, let's have a look. That's a pretty dark and moody sort of photo, wouldn't you agree? Let's go and find something else. So what we've got here is this old, really old fence post. Up behind here, some green trees. With the photo that we just took with the dead trees with a negative space, what I find with black and white photos, if you're going to print these photos, a series of black and white photos are the bomb. What we're going to do is we'll go into the camera app again. We'll hit the arrow up the top here so that we can bring in the menu down the bottom. And you've got those filters that are there that I generally don't use, but for black and white photography, it's quite helpful. So we'll hit the filter, we'll go across to where it says mono, there it is. Touch out there. Hit the arrow at the top. What we're going to do is go into portrait mode in black and white. So what we've got here is an old fence post, really old fence post. There would have been a fence going through here for cattle or something many years ago, well before my time. What I find when you're doing black and white photos, if you print them out and put them in a series, it can be quite effective. Put them in black and white frames, they look pretty cool. So to help with this sort of photos, we're going to go into the camera app, bring up the filters that are there, and we're going to turn mono filters on. That will help when we compose the photo. So we're going to portrait mode this time, because we want to blur out these green trees that are out the back there. So the focus is well and truly on that tree stump. We're going to bring it in from the bottom left, take the photo. That's actually quite effective, I like that. The last thing I wanted to shoot was some of this rocky outcrop that's here at Mount Hope.
They were here long before. They're keeping our stories, and when we're older, they will still stand tall.
I'm going to open up that filters again, put it to mono, and we'll compose the photo. If we look through the photo here, you've got all these rocks that are leading up. They actually work pretty well for leading lines. I'm going to touch on the rocks at the top. That's really where I want the focus point to be, and take that photo. Now with all of these photos, what's going to really set them off is the edit in these photos. So I'm going to open Snapseed and open up that photo that we've just taken. If we look at this photo, we can see that the area underneath the horizon, it's quite dark, so we need to bring that out a little bit. I'm going to go into the looks first. The accentuate look, I don't mind that at all. It brings out a little bit of sharpness, and it brings out the shadows a little bit. It applies a HDR filter, a dynamic range filter, and it can work pretty well. We go into tools, we scroll up to ambience, and we'll increase that, and you'll see not only do the clouds really become more dramatic, the foreground becomes quite dramatic as well. And we'll go to shadows, we'll increase that a little bit. That already is looking pretty good. The last thing that I'm going to do with this photo is the vignette, and we will decrease the vignette, and you can see from the outside there it's looking quite dramatic. If I use the double finger swipe and bring that vignette in a little bit closer in the center of it down to the horizon, that is a dramatic photo. I quite like that. We'll export that, save a copy, and the edit is done. Lickety split, very quick. You're not limited to just landscape photography. That's what I do in this sort of tutorials, is landscape stuff and astro stuff. When I shoot weddings, I will shoot a lot of the stuff that I do to capture that really dramatic sort of lighting in black and white, and I will deliver them to the customer in black and white. In most of the videos that I do, I generally don't challenge you guys to do, well, anything. What I'm going to tell you to do though is, instead of going out and taking a photo, leaving it on automatic and then tuning it into color later, absolutely change that filter on your iPhone to mono and just see the world in black and white a little bit differently. And you'll be surprised how much of a better photographer it will actually make you.